Everyone? Transtastic Thursday. Back with Logan. I want to talk about my coming out story, and I feel like I'll have a lot of fun with this video because I have a lot to talk about. So first of all, in case you didn't watch me last week, my name is Logan. I identify as non-binary transmasc. Use they, them, their, or him, his pronouns, depending on where I am and depending on who it is. So, like, at work, it's he, him, his, things like that. So, I have a very extensive coming out story and information about my sexuality. So, I'll start all the way back in high school. I'm just going to get to the point. So, in high school, when I was 15, I started really liking this girl. Didn't know that I was into her. Long story short, my mom took me to Max and Irma's after a baseball game one day, and she took me to Max and Irma's specifically to ask if I was gay. It was like a really traumatic experience because we were both like sobbing, and the waiter comes over and it's just like, "Can I get you anything?" And all the food had to be boxed to go. Good memories, but that's kind of what happened. So my mom asked me at the time, and she's like, "Are you gay?" And I was like, "Well, like, yes, no, like, I don't know. I like this girl, but I also like don't know if I like this guy." And so it ended up kind of being that I came out as a lesbian to her before I knew myself at all. Like, I didn't really identify that way, but I felt really like forced to pick something. And also I was like really paranoid that she would think it was like a like phase or like I wasn't certain or whatever. So I identified that way for a bit. And I had previously, up until that point, I had like only dated guys and wasn't positive like how I felt about that at the time. I was 15 and I was just like head over heels about this girl. So I was like, "Oh, it's obvious. I didn't even like guys that much. I'm into girls only." So dated strictly women from the time I was like 15 until more recently. So coming out with my mom, it wasn't, I didn't initiate it. Coming out at school, I just did the thing. Like, I was very loud and proud as a like lesbian, and especially as like a mask lesbian. You have a lot of, in my experience, I had a lot of privilege occupying spaces like as a more masculine person in just my like demeanor and overall like experience. So I didn't face a lot of hardship because of that. I really didn't. So I wasn't even at high school the last 2 years. I did college instead, did post-secondary, whatever. So I didn't see people my age. Like, no one at college cared. It wasn't an issue. I got married to a person assigned female at birth. They're like pretty androgynous, but like that shifted the time that we got together and when we were married. But overall, like, I was attracted to women, like both sexually and romantically, like just women. Let's see. They also want me to talk about like how I knew. Honestly, I like didn't ever like know. I like was never certain about it. I don't have like this story of being like I said before, like this past of like, oh, I knew from the time I was 4 or whatever. Like, I now reflecting back, I have a lot of stories like, oh, I should have known. Like, oh, when you have like crushes on like all your female teachers growing up, like like one thing that you should have known, but like at the time you didn't know they were crushes, but like now it's like, wow, that's embarrassing. Stuff like that. But even up until more recently, I'm gonna sidetrack for a minute, but even like more recently with my like present girlfriend, one time when she was my like boss, in all like honesty, I got I like ordered chocolate covered strawberries to the school because it was a thank you for her like dealing with my shit because it was like a bad week the week before. And I like could not comprehend that I was like into her. I was like, I am frequently really in denial about how I feel about people romantically. Like sexually, I'm like, everyone's really hot. I'm into everyone. And I'm like very overt about it. But when it comes to like if I'm emotionally into somebody, I feel like that's really hard for me to like decipher. Especially for me, because usually it's very like distinct divide. I generally like very different types of people. So romantically, never was like certain. It wasn't something I just figured out. It's something I more like fell into and just like got obsessed with when I was 15, and it became like an acceptance of like myself after everyone else could tell. You know, everyone else is like, duh, Logan, and I'm just like, oh well, maybe, and like it's obvious. I think it's like that for a lot of people actually. Like when you're coming out to yourself and you're like figuring that out, it's not like as easy as like I have this like some like deep secret that I need to disclose. It's like you don't really know, and like it's not, for me it wasn't so much of a concern to really figure it out. I just wanted to go with it. So coming out the first time was that simple. After that, I had to come out as trans. So after I turned 18, I may have actually identified as trans a little bit before that. Maybe like non-binary. When I was like 17, I can't really remember. It all like clashes. But telling people that was really difficult, especially as somebody who was really like, I didn't like pass as anything other than female, so explaining that to folks was difficult in a lot of spaces. Fortunately, I occupied like female spaces and it was in gender studies, so it was in really like feminist radical queer spaces that those conversations were relatively easy. Coming out to my family, again, it wasn't something, I never had those conversations with like certainty. Like I would have like, oh, I prefer this, but I'll accept this. And I feel like even now it's like that. I've never been like, I don't know. It's never so rigid for me that I like need to make an effort. I just kind of like live, and if people want to have a conversation with where I am like currently, they'll get a really long drawn out explanation. But anyway, coming out as trans, it was whatever. Like the social transition, especially now since I started T, has been easy. I have been like really fortunate that it has just been seamless. Like my job, I was with City Year, got to talk about pronouns, was in a really safe space to do that. My girlfriend is really great, was here before T, here now. Nothing has been difficult in that capacity. Now, obviously, like outside people, I faced a lot of like really awful things that I don't even want to revisit, but as far as coming out to people close to me, it hasn't been an issue. I actually came out to a whole new set of people this year at my job because we got like a new secretary and new people who didn't know me at the school before I transitioned, because everyone else, it's like obvious. Like I feel like, and I'm not stupid, like I look and sound a lot different, and so like I would be dumb to think that they don't like talk to one another and be like, oh, what is what the hell is going on with Logan? Like, that's a given. I look different. So most everyone knows I'm trans at the school. Although no one talks to me about it. It never comes up. It's never come up. Like, maybe a couple times with, like, when students are around, then, like, teachers will piggyback on it. It's never come up, which is, like, kind of weird to me. I think I expected it to come up, and I'm also not weird about it. Like, at the end of the day today, I was talking to, like, another instructional assistant about tomorrow going to train Columbus Police Department on, like, trans literacy, and they acted kind of shocked that I was talking about it. It's not something I can talk about, like, with kids around, not that I would want to, but, like, as far as adults, I don't know. I guess they just either don't care, or they think that it's rude, or who knows, I don't know. But that's been really easy. Coming out as polyamorous, during my relationship with my, like, ex-spouse, we, like, explored polyamory and actually dated, like, a girl with the two of us. So it was more like polyamory in a, like, romantic capacity. And coming out as that was probably the most difficult. I think that a lot of people are on board with gay stuff, slightly less, but more people are on board with, like, trans stuff. But when it comes to non-monogamy, people have a lot of opinions about it, and they feel very entitled to those opinions about it, and it's a lot of times they feel threatened by you being able to have, like, open relationships and see other people, like, with or without your partner. So that conversation was always the worst. Not to strangers, because when strangers find out about that, they're just like, wow, that's fascinating. But people already in your life, they feel that they, like, need to, like, show you the truth or something. They need to, like, either fix that and be like, let me convince you that you don't need that, or, like, shun you for it. And I never, so that was hard. Now my relationship structure is different, but it works, like, best for me. So I would say that, I'm not supposed to go over 15 minutes, but I feel like I might. But I feel like now, so I'm with, like, a primary partner. She's great. Her name's Erin. She's, like, really, really wonderful. She's been there through all the things, and she's really super chill. I can pretty much do whatever I want. She can do whatever she wants. But when it comes to our, like, relationship structure, especially now that I'm on T, I have, like, probably less than zero interest in establishing or maintaining other romantic relationships. And I think that's partially due to the T, and also due to just, like, I don't know that I ever wanted that as much as I wanted, like, several things at once, that were, like, equally invigorating and, like, kind of hectic. I kind of like the chaos of it. And now I'm, like, more settled down. But that definitely doesn't mean that I don't see other people. It's just that romantically I'm not interested in, like, dating anyone else. Whereas before, I think I was really focused on, like, dating other people. Now, since starting T, though, I used to, like, only be interested in women. Pretty much. Always. Now, there was, like, some exceptions to that. But now T has made me, like, really fucking gay. Like, gay. Which was just a shock. It's something I didn't want to happen, but kind of now it's, like, my romantic attraction strictly to women, but my, like, sexual attraction is, like, I wouldn't say, like, let's see, I'd probably say, like, 80-20. Whereas before it would have been like 95 women. It's probably like 80 men, 20 women. That sounded bad. Like 80%. It's very different now. And now it's obviously different with my girlfriend because she's like been around and I'm very attracted to her. It's not like threatening to her. But as far as like new partners go, I'm like hardly ever interested in hooking up with girls. Whereas before, that's like all I wanted to do all the time because I was just like a little slut. Not that I'm not now, but different, different space. That's been interesting, and coming out as that again is completely different, and it's also scary. Before, I didn't have to worry, like being seen as a hard, like dykey person was never for me like as threatening, but now like as a like queer trans guy, like a queer poly trans guy is scary, and you have to be careful of like who you're talking to, because I think that it puts you in a really vulnerable place. I'm just gonna say that it's very scary to do that. And I would never. I have to be more selective when I come out now. Before I was just like, I will tell anyone everything, and I will tell anyone everything now, but I feel like I want the authority to choose like when or where I do that. Whereas before I would be like drop of a hat, and now it's like maybe if someone messages me like online that I don't know and they're asking really invasive questions, I might be a little more inclined to like not respond. Whereas before I'd be like, I don't care who you are, like I can do what I want. I'll tell you what's up and I'll tell you off. But now I'm just like, I'm more cautious about pissing people off, especially like in a bathroom and stuff. It's just a lot of different things that occupying male spaces has like this physical threat to me. Like I feel scared a lot more than I ever felt before. Because it's different now. It's different being the like weak, like I don't know, awkward, smaller, like trans guy that's around like really masked, cis, like het, straight dudes that are just toxic. I don't know. It just feels different. So that's something I'm still figuring out. So long story short, came out as lesbian, knew that wasn't right, but went with it anyway. Came out as trans, came out as poly, came out as like queer, just in general, is what I've kind of resorted to, and just saying queer, as like a queer trans guy is kind of where I've ended up, and I feel like that's where I will stay. It's not changing as like I'm further on T. I'm almost 15 months on T, and I would say I started like 8 months ago where my sexuality like shifted. And from everything that I've read and like a lot of my friends, that's like if things change on T, like it kind of stays there. But being on T has been great. We can talk about that later, but I don't regret it at all. Like, even though it was scary that it shifted my attraction, that's really the only thing that's been really scary. But other than that, that's my story thus far. Next week, I don't know what we'll be talking about, but I will see you next Thursday. Thanks for watching.